Hello and welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame live presented by MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, and anywhere only with MyBookie. And guys, as you know, MyBookie makes me think. I wonder what the live betting was going on like there at the fourth quarter and overtime. Bills favored, Eagles favored, Bills favored, Eagles. And at the end of the day, it's just another unbelievable win for the Philadelphia Eagles as they improved to 10-1 with a 37-34 win over the Buffalo Bills in overtime. Geoff Mosher here alongside Adam Caplan, and of course, joining us all season long, former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. Clay, I've kind of run out of words to describe what we see for the Eagles every weekend. You're a pretty good articulate guy. Why don't you just take it from here? Because this was about one of the most amazing games I've ever seen. And yet again, I think the big key is if you don't beat the Eagles when you have the opportunity, if you don't catch the touchdown pass, you don't make the field goal, you turn it over early, you compound your chances of winning by like a billion. And that seems to happen every week.
I mean, Geoff, I don't even, honestly, I'm with you. I don't even know what to say. And, Jalen Hurts extended his NFL record with his 8 consecutive comeback win when trailing by double digits. I mean, this guy's just incredible what they do. You come in the first half and like this guy looks shaky. He looks like he's running out of the pocket too soon. He doesn't look comfortable. He's making the wrong reads on the zone read in the running game. On the RPOs, he's making the wrong read. There's a fumble there between him and Boston Scott. He's making the wrong reads downfield. Comes back the second half, completely different player down the field. And that's just resilience and grit, man. It's incredible to see what this team can do, how mentally strong they are. I've been a part of a couple of nice comebacks. Miracle in the Meadowlands Part 2 comes to mind. I mean, we're down 21, 24 points. I mean, that's the kind of feel you have from a game like this. And it's almost like you just focus on the next play and the next play and believe and believe and believe. And next thing you know, you're in this game and you come back and win. But for them to do this time after time, week after week is truly incredible. I mean, they don't got to do this to us. I mean, my blood pressure for being 37, my blood pressure is pretty high.
Well, you know what, Adam, I'll say this because I know this game was won in overtime and there was a lot that happened in overtime, but I'm going to go before that. And I'm going to say this. It's hard enough to beat the Eagles because they have great skill position players. Hard enough to beat the Eagles because they're very well coached. Hard enough to beat the Eagles at the link where they are very, very good. But the fourth thing you have to overcome is beating their kicker, Jake Elliott, who is fast becoming Justin Tucker 2.0. And I don't feel uncomfortable saying that because that was an unbelievable kick that he made in bad rain in those elements, which he's done before, but in a time that they needed him to bail them out the most after a really, really ugly drive there. I mean, you think you've got all the boxes checked, and then Jake Elliott gets you with a 59-yarder.
Really incredible. He put the draw on it. He hit it low, but he hit it hard. He's been for these 59 to 61 yarders. Pretty incredible what he's done since 2017. What a clutch kick. He is incredibly clutch. Great holder in Rick Lovato. Good snap by Lovato. Really good hold on the kick. And what can you say? Resiliency. They got a lot of issues. They got more injuries. Just when you thought their injury situation was clearing up, they've got more. They're down to like the Rhine now at inside linebacker. They have nobody left. We talked about that in the pregame. They can't afford an injury. Christian Ellis is not a full-time starter. He can't be. He's just not. There's just too much going on with him. He's a good special teams player. He's like a 4th or 5th inside linebacker. That's what you want him to be. Depending on the severity of Zach Cunningham's injury, he might be a starter. They're in it. They're in the ball game with Shaq Leonard, who was actually at the Colts game today. The Cowboys have gone on record saying they know they're in it. They really want him. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. But look, they found a way to win. They had all sorts of issues. Clay talked about. They got away with some stuff. They held so much on the Bills receivers. It's and look, people like we see it. They held. I mean, it was ridiculous. They got away with it. They got away with it. But they won.
Yeah.
They won.
They won. Now, I pride myself on, even though we've morphed into this podcasting world. I started off, as Clay knows, you guys know, as a reporter, as a writer. I used to enjoy those long form, back when people actually wrote long form, right? You got to sit down and craft a nice story and think of some nice words. I'm out. I got to go to the source because we're using resilience. We're using terms like mental toughness. We're using demoralizing. I'm out. I'm done. I got nothing. The Eagles right now, they're like the greatest team that's ever lived because they can't lose unless they turn the ball over 4 times. And that's only happened once this year. And I'm not sure that's going to happen again. And it just feels like they are unbreakable. That's my new word, Clay. Unbreakable.
Yeah, man. And, going back to those days, obviously that's where I met you, Jeff, back in the Eagles day when you're in the locker room, going around writing all those stories. But I don't want to be cliche and say those words, but to be honest, that's what it is. When you get down in this league and you have a bad quarter, a bad half, a couple bad plays, that spirals on a lot of guys. And you see that happen even good players. But this team, it literally hasn't happened to them in the past 2 years. It just hasn't happened. They get down, bad play, bad quarter, bad half. They come back and they make it a game. And to me, that's obviously starts at the top with making adjustments with the coaching. Obviously, I wish Brian Johnson would start off calling some better plays. It was Jalen Hurts would start off with more than 33 yards and a 0 rating on the season. But you think about it, this guy just ended up with the second player in Eagles history with 3 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in a game since Michael Vick did on that Monday Night Football game back in Washington when I was on the field. I mean, this guy is just making up different ways to win, and say what you will, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's crazy to think how they just keep coming at you. They keep coming up with new ways to win. And like Slay got away with a lot of holdings. Bradbury, couple holds there, but the Bills did get that phantom late hit with Nick Morrow. So I think it was more back and forth than people realize. And those false starts on Kelsey, the end of the game. Yeah, he moved maybe the second one. I mean, come on. I mean, it was, come on. That to me, that's not a false start, but they came away with the win. And like Tony Romo said, maybe the Bills are the better team. They're not. The Eagles won the game, and they're 10-1.
All right. Well, listen, as we talk about them being 10-1, and we'll get into this game. I kind of want to work backwards to front because all the things that happened late in the game seem more significant than anything that happened in the first quarter. But I may have to call up our friends at MyBookie, who I'm going to talk about in a second, Adam and Clay, and recommend a prop. Will the Eagles' opponent drop an open pass or not connect on an open pass to win the game in the last minute of the game? Because for the second straight week, that happened, and it's happened a couple of times this year. This time it was Gabe Davis and Josh Allen unable to connect. Last week it was Marquez Valdez Scantling, and it's really the line between winning and losing for the Eagles is so thin week after week. But again, they pull it out. I mentioned our friends at MyBookie. We hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and you have great Thanksgiving by avoiding those arguments with your uncles and cousins at the dinner table. You focused on what really mattered, right? Good food, boosted odds, and those Turkey Day parlays. Let's talk about the beauty of MyBookie. It's not just watching games, but turning every second into a potential win. With MyBookie, you can stream the games and live bet them and turn any game day into a payday. Are you ready to up your game? Sign up today and make your first deposit with promo code THEBIRDS. That's one word, THEBIRDS, for a sweet deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code THEBIRDS to claim your bonus. This isn't just a promo code. It's a secret weapon, like Jake Elliott, to get the extra edge on the house. The best part is you don't need to be a sports whiz to win at MyBookie. You can cash in on everything from politics to your favorite shows and then some. So bet anything, anytime, and anywhere only with MyBookie. This was such a significant win. The Eagles are 10-1. They still are in the heart of their murderer's row. But we saw the Cowboys and saw the 49ers. They're both playing well. They're both trying to stay and nip at the heel. And I'm sure they're watching this game thinking, yes, here we go. We're about to close the gap a little bit. But no, the Eagles improve to 10-1 and keep that distance that they had going into the week. I want to ask you this, Adam. Were you surprised at all? And I sort of get it, but like there was 20 seconds left in regulation after the Jake Elliott field goal. The Bills decided they were just going to kneel this out and go into overtime on the road. They have a quarterback who was giving them fits all day. They have a couple wide receivers who were giving them some fits. You're surprised that they didn't try to at least get it into field goal territory there with 20 seconds?
Yeah, I would have tried. I agree, because with Josh Allen's arm. Now the kicker's been Bass is a really good kicker, but he had a terrible day. Isn't it interesting? Elliott in the same conditions. Okay, it never stopped raining. I talked to a bunch of people who were there. The rain was steady. We'll get into kind of what we saw and what Yvonne talked about in a pregame, because Jason had some great information about catching the ball in the rain and playing in the rain. Not all rain is created equal, but Elliott was just a better kicker today. But talk about an MVP, but having a good special teams unit on your side. My goodness gracious, he's turned his career around, because you remember when this group came in, Jeff, Elliott was really struggling. He did not kick well in 2020. And our first report on this staff was they worked on the operation. That was the first note we had heard. From the snap to the placement to the hold, that was completely redone. And that's made such a difference in Jake Elliott. It's Justin Tucker and it's Elliott. Those are two best kickers now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I get why they might not, with the elements, with the fear of turnover, right? With the fact that Tyler Bass
go for it there, man.
Did
they forget?
I know.
Did they forget 2 years ago what happened with Patrick Mahomes? Obviously, you got the Jason Kelsey. Do it, Kels. Do it, Kels. Run the center. Like, come on. You just need a field goal. You're not trying to score a touchdown. You can literally, obviously, they didn't have clean field goals throughout the game. Maybe that plays something into it with the block, whatever. But, I mean, come on. You got to get to, say, the 40-yard line for an attempt with Josh Allen's arm. You're starting at the 25. Like, you get 30-plus seconds. Like, to me, that is, I mean, almost unforgivable. You have Josh Allen. You're not going to trust Josh Allen. If I'm the Bears, we have Justin Fields. If I'm some of these teams that don't have a quarterback you trust, this is supposed to be one of the top 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks in the league. You got to go for that there and try to get into field goal range. To me, that is almost unforgivable, and don't understand how they don't go for that right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They took them. When you play the Eagles, I think you have to be a little bit more aggressive, because they're not going to make too many mistakes and you need to capitalize on every opportunity. So they don't do that. And then again, you go in overtime and Josh Allen's looking like a world beater there on that drive. And Clay, I want to ask you, just from a route concept and awareness, being a pass catcher as a tight end as you were, I know the broadcast talked about it a little bit. There was pressure on that third down. Josh Allen throws it up. I think we talked about this almost last week, right? With A.J. Brown, whether he's supposed to keep running the fade or flatten the route. Brown flatten the route. Should Gabe Davis have looked inside, or should he kept running? How did you see that unfold there?
If I had to bet on it, if I was on my bookie and they said a bet, what is the play? What was the play right here? In the court of law, I would say, yeah, he's not guilty, because that was probably his route was the corner route, the high corner. But you're hot. Maybe they got it picked up, but at this point in the game, you're open, you're hot. You just got to play football. So in the court of law, not guilty, but you're a football player, man. And the great football players, if you're on the same page as your quarterback, A.J. Brown, I think, and Jalen Hurts, obviously they mixed up that last weekend with that interception. But that's something I would see them do. If you're on the same page, I would like to see Davis continue going. But in my opinion, if I had to bet on it, I'm on my bookie. What am I putting my money on? I'm putting on that was a corner route, but Josh Allen just saw it and threw it because he was under pressure, and they didn't see it the same way. Luckily for the Eagles.
All right. Well, good breakdown on that. Adam, we gave Sean Desai a lot of credit on Inside the Birds pregame live, and I still think he's doing a nice job. Today was not his best day. It wasn't the defense's best day. They did get a very important interception from James Bradbury at a really crucial time, because it enabled their comeback there in the second half. But you lost Zach Cunningham. Not you. The Eagles lost Zach Cunningham. And you saw that Christian Ellis had to come in, and Fletcher Cox also on the sideline. Milton Williams already out. I actually tipped my cap to Joe Brady. He basically said on the road at the link, I am going to go under center and take direct aim at the center of the Eagles defense. And it worked for them for that last drive in the fourth quarter. But how concerned should the Eagles be now going forward about these injuries and and the fact that even before Cunningham went out, they were a little loose against the run.
Yeah, I mean, Cooks slipped through, but the big one, Josh Allen, back-breaking runs, man. He's. I remember talking to a coach who went against Cam Newton over the years. He said these big guys, 6'5", 6'6", who can move like Josh Allen here, they're really hard to break down. They're hard because they're bigger than your defenders. You know, they're bigger than your linebackers. They're bigger than your safeties. And he had that crucial 3rd and long where he got it. I mean, it's just you saw Slade shook his head. He just couldn't believe it. So yeah, Joe Brady's called 2 nice games. I mean, he definitely has done a good job. What can you do? In overtime, you obviously want to score a touchdown. You don't want to get a field goal, but bottom line is they had their opportunities. They had 11 penalties, by the way. The Bills did. The Eagles only had 4. Obviously, they maybe got away with 4 or 5. Now, one thing we do want to note before we move on, my initial thought was that was a fumble by A.J. Brown, but by the rule, and hearing Gene Steratore talk about it, he's right. It's control and taking a step and moving. He didn't complete it. I didn't agree with it live, as I texted you guys, but when I watch, I'm able to on Verizon 5 replay it repeatedly. It's great. On DVR, you just keep replaying it. And I slow mode it. I'm like, you know what? Okay, I get it. I get why he's saying he's correct, and I get the Bills fans are furious. I respect that. We're not homers here. It's our job to tell the truth. But by the rule, they're right. It should be incomplete.
Yeah, and it was close, and it's not. I mean, had they ruled it a fumble, I probably wouldn't have argued it either way. I think my interpretation was that when you watch it as fast in real time and you see him take, it would have been hard to overturn that. You need like concrete. It's definitely a fumble to overturn the call, and I don't think that was there. I think it was too in that gray area and murky for them to do that. So yeah, so it stood up, and good for the Eagles in that regard. Last thing, defensively, because they're about to play the 49ers. So that's why I asked you about the concern. You really need to be full strength in your front six, front seven. And so we'll have to see about, the injuries and the linebacker situation. I'm just surprised because Kansas City also took aim at times with their running back, Isaiah Pacheco. He ran hard. They were able to strike some big runs. I will say, I thought Jordan Davis, before he just physically couldn't take it anymore, was doing a pretty good job there at the end, as the Bills were not as successful in overtime trying to run as they were in the 4th quarter. But I found that part of it a little bit interesting there. And I don't want it to go unnoticed that James Bradbury's had a struggling year, but that was a really big interception. Clay, that came out of an empty formation. Did he jump that route? Was it telegraphed a little bit by Allen? Because I don't think Allen looked anybody off there.
Yeah, so it's cover 2. It was a cover 2, so that kind of gives Bradbury some freedom there to reroute and then look inside. And Allen telegraphed it, and Bradbury does have the flat, but he moved inside with his eyes. And I reposted this video of the play. I thought it was a really nice play. And obviously, after I talk well on Bradbury, he gives up that touchdown later in the game. Obviously, He struggles in man-to-man coverage. Pretty good still in zone. But cover 2, bumps the receiver, does his job there. And early in the game, like first drive, you see that him and Reed Blankenship gave up a little hole shot there in between the two of them. So I was shocked that he did read Allen's eyes and didn't hang back on that vertical and just made a veteran play and was able to intercept that ball. So that was a really nice play by him. He probably technically in the defensive room was a little out of position because he's supposed to stay wider on that, but that's one of them you get a minus plus because you made the play in the wrong spot. Maybe come on, you're not supposed to do that. Good job. Great play. That's a football player right there. So minus plus.
All right, good stuff. We're going to get into the Eagles offense now and turn the table. First, we want to hear a word from our great friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
All right, welcome back to Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, joined, of course, by former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. Eagles offensively basically slept-walked through the first, 20, 25 minutes of the game. There was no rhythm. There was no flow. This is not the first time that's happened, whether you want to blame Brian Johnson or Jalen Hurts for calling us. Either way, it doesn't matter. It did not look good. Adam, we thought in the rain, we had a discussion. Is it going to be a throw ball game? Or are they going to try to run it with the elements? They clearly did what we talked about as far as a throw ball game, because the Bills were beat up in the secondary. They had backup starting at both cornerback spots, and they were down a third safety, so they were going to attack by the air. And after the first, and then without Lane Johnson, they made that decision to try to do it. And the first drive looked terrible. It looked like Jack Driscoll was going to really be a problem. He really wasn't a problem, but in general, throughout the game, I just felt like the offense lacked flow until the third quarter.
Yeah, in fact, they stopped throwing. If you noticed, they couldn't get it. They could not do anything the first shift throwing the football. Literally nothing. We can't tell because we don't get access to it until Tuesday. If game's on Amazon, you get live all 22. For those of us who have Prime, you could actually get the all 22 feed. It's pretty cool, but here we don't. So I couldn't tell watching the first half where guys not getting open because Hurts is moving around. He's waiting.
Yeah,
he's deciding what to do. He's scrambling because nobody either he's not seeing it or they're not getting open. So they wound up actually running the ball more than they threw it. And you're right. It was an absolute disaster throw. It looked like, to be honest with you, same exact scores against Kansas City with 17-7 at half. I've learned my lesson now. Do not count them out. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. It looks ugly. But they gave up 17 straight. They did score first early. So I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. And then they started self-destructing offensively. And I'm like, Josh Allen's starting to get a little hot here. He's getting into Diggs and Kincaid, and they're up big at the half. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they're mentally tough. When it doesn't look good, they find a way to win. And as you set it up earlier, and you're right, these other teams, they do something stupid. Okay, a lot of penalties, a bad turnover, timing issue with the quarterback and his pass targets, whatever the case may be, they don't execute. It's like the Eagles are like Jesus from Friday the 13th. He looks like he's dead under the water. And something happens. Something happens. They can't kill this guy. It's ridiculous.
That's good.
It's ridiculous.
He's like when the Undertaker, that meme of the Undertaker just sitting straight up.
When Embiid, when Embiid said Markelle Fultz was coming out of it, he used the Undertaker one. Yeah, exactly, on his Twitter, his tweet. Yeah, it's great.
It is true. The Bills are going to wake up and James Cook is going to be like, I really did drop a wide open reel route on the second drive of the game. That would have been a short touchdown, right? Tyler Bass. Now, get it. Jalen Carter blocks one, but then he misses another one, and he's not known for missing in that short range. But the Eagles, good counter, right? Tyler Bass misses. The big miss is the one also in the third where the Eagles then come back and they get the touchdown to A.J. Brown, who wakes up a little bit. But after the James Bradbury interception, then they get the Devontae Smith touchdown. But I'm really impressed, Clay. The Olamide Zaccheaus touchdown is probably another play sort of reminiscent of the Alabama-Auburn game where the scramble drill just does the Bills in. I mean, and what a great concentration play from Hurts and Zaccheaus, right?
Oh, unbelievable play by Hurts and Zaccheaus, man. That's one of those things where you got to count your blessing because they showed down the slow motion of that catch. Like I'm sure Jason is a guy that when you have a guy that frames the ball right there, like that's not, this ball comes in, hits off of Zaccheaus' chest, and then he traps it, goes down to the ground, cradles it right before he goes out of bounds. And I'm just like, wow, man, that is, I'm not going to say it's lucky on Zaccheaus' part, but I mean, there was somebody looking down at him right there because that wasn't a clean catch. And obviously he was able to corral it and get it in there, but just Jalen Hurts creating time and what he was able to do there, very impressive how he does that. And, I thought the Bills did a nice job using a spy, and their rush lanes were really good. early in the game, especially, and not allowing Hurts every time he's on the move. They're keeping their discipline with their rush lanes. They have a spy. And to me, the Eagles weren't doing that early. And that's why Josh Allen was able to have 9 rushes for 81 yards on him, because their rush lanes, their discipline. Obviously, Reed Blankenship had a big missed tackle for the touchdown. Then you saw Hassan Reddick on that big run. He missed it. You don't go for pump fakes on a guy like Josh Allen when he's scrambling. You go straight for Allen. I think they could utilize more of that guy that's just watching him, the spy, so to speak. And I thought the Bills did a nice job there. But overall, with the end of the game, the second half, that hurt scramble and Zakia's catch was obviously, every play was a difference in the game, but that one was one of them that stands out. You thought, wow, Eagles can really win this one.
And DeAndre Swift ran tough. He had 14 carries for 80 yards, and he wasn't as. I thought he might be, with all the zone that Buffalo plays. I thought, because Jalen Hurts has really been good this year at, if you're going to drop a lot of guys, I'm going to take that underneath, and especially to the running backs. I thought he would have more receptions, but again, it was kind of a ugly offensive flow for half the game.
Yeah.
But I would say that, Adam, that 14 rushes for 80 yards was kind of was big for DeAndre Swift.
And he had an awesome run. The cross-country run, it was awesome. But I'll tell you what, to give you an idea of how bad the Eagles' offense was, I didn't think it was this bad, but they got out-possessed by over 9 minutes in the first half. Nearly 16 minutes in the game, which is just absurd for this team because they out-possess usually everybody else. Yeah, actually about 14 minutes for the game. So, but hey, Swift was really good. That was a great run. He's been a nice story. I wish they get more out of Gainwell. He had that big run that almost scored in the first half.
Yeah,
but they haven't really been able to get enough out of their backup running backs. But overall, though, they made plays in the second half. And Devontae Smith, Skinny Batman, was awesome in the second half when they needed him to be. He came up big.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, wrap this all up. First, want to hear from our friends. Before we hear from our friends at at Sky Motor Cars, we want to tell you about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Now let's hear a word from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, back here inside the Birds post-game live. Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and former Eagles tight end Clay Harbor. And listen, wintertime's approaching. It gets dark. Everyone's got to get holiday shopping done. Like right now, nobody has time to plan meals anymore. That's why we love HelloFresh. They deliver farm-fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes right to our doorstep. No wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. We don't have to waste time researching recipes and planning out meals. With HelloFresh, the shopping is already done. The perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. Doesn't get more efficient than that. Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. It's 25% less expensive than takeout, so you get a home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. There's great taste, great selection. You can get chicken dishes, pasta dishes, risotto dishes, vegetarian dishes, anything you want. Stir fry, it's great. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the promo code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit. All right, well, the 49ers come up. We know that's next. And I got to say, listen, I think I have to stop just trying to find that game, Adam, where I think the Eagles are going to lose, because I predicted the Bills to win this game. In the pregame show, I almost hit the score on the head because I said Bills 31, Eagles 27.
Yeah,
but
in the rain.
No, it's not a good call. I was wrong again.
No, on the points, though. No, I'm talking, forget that.
Yeah, no, I know. I definitely could sense the over was coming.
And Greg, it's funny, and I didn't disagree with Greg. I thought the Eagles would have really no problem something, I don't know what the lines makers were thinking. I give them credit. They nailed it. They had the Eagles
Yeah.
-3. Buffalo came back after being down 7-0 to take control of the game. I would love to know, did they think somehow to play all these emotional games at some point they just wouldn't have it? Maybe so, whatever they thought. And in the rain, the game going way over the total is almost hard to believe. I think, though, what happened for the second half, particularly because both teams got down, is both teams got desperate to move the football. They knew there was pressure. It seemed like there was pressure to score, to play. Let me ask you a question. Over the years, when you're in games like this, do you feel as a player, okay, we got to make plays, no field goals, we got to get touchdowns? Is that in the back of your mind?
Yeah, when you see the other team playing, like, and you're playing Josh Allen. I remember we're playing Peyton Manning. We ended up winning that game, I think 2010 with the Eagles. And just before the game, I remember Vic like, hey, we're playing Peyton Manning. We got to get touchdowns. We get in the red zone, we got to get touchdowns. Obviously, you're always trying to score touchdowns, and that's the name of the game. But you are cognizant when you're playing Josh Allen. We were cognizant when we were playing Peyton Manning. If you want to win a game, you got to get in the end zone and you got to score touchdowns, because a lot of times these field goals ain't going to be enough if you want to win. So maybe you're a little bit more aggressive. You're cognizant of making that extra play because you really need to get in the end zone if you want to come away with the W. So it's definitely something that's thought about.
Adam, when you asked me on Friday whenever we did the preview podcast, right? Why did I think the Bills were going to score a lot of points?
Yeah.
My reaction was, and I think this part of it was true, was that the Eagles, the way they're built, the way they generally function is they wear your quarterback out. They hit the quarterback, they sack the quarterback, they compensate for their back end with what they're able to do on their front line, right? And Josh Allen, as we talked about, is not a guy that you're going to sack 5 or 6 times. He's really good at just when the pressure's there, he either bails or he sidesteps. And I thought he did a better job in this game of sidestepping and stepping up in the pocket and using mobility advantageously and not being too much of a cowboy about it. And that's why I thought that they would be able to score a lot of points, and they did, but they did not win. The Eagles held on. They got a big in the game coming up. Clay, I want to end it on this. Do you think I thought this going in also? Eagles had short rest coming off a big Monday night win, big emotional Monday night win. The Bills had played the preceding Thursday, had a big win, blowout win. They had a lot of rest. They had more urgency because they knew their season was on the line. I think the trap game is more of a college thing, but I felt that the Eagles would come into this game after that big emotional win versus KC and maybe just not have it right from the start. Do you think that might have been a reason?
No, I think that that's something that a typical team you can expect, but this isn't a typical team.
Yeah.
And I know I've said it before, but I think that just goes back to Jalen Hurts and his preparation. The things you hear about this guy talking to Kelsey and Lane before the season, being at training camp, and just knowing the guy that Jalen Hurts is. This guy's all football all the time. His job, his life, he's a quarterback. He's not a guy that plays quarterback on Sunday and is just in the week in the practice. He is a quarterback. That's his job. That's his life. That is what he does. He is always going to be prepared. He's always going to be ready. And then Nick Sirianni, hats off to him too, because he is just a coach that is not going to let his team come in and have that trap game. And obviously you also got to look at the veterans on this team. A guy named Brandon Graham, who just broke the record for the most games played in Philadelphia Eagles history. I mean, I was drafted with this guy, Jeff, like I tweeted and said, I'm waking up with back pain in the morning, and this guy's still playing on Sundays, getting sacked.
Amazing.
Big game for him today, by the way. He made some nice plays. You got a guy like BG. You got a guy's not playing today, but Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox obviously got injured. But when you got these veterans, these guys that have been to 2 Super Bowls, that know how to play, know how to get ready, know how every game counts the same, you're not going to have a team that falls into this trap of a trap game. If you got a young team, that happens. They're flying high. Maybe you take a couple reps off. You don't watch that extra tape that you watched the week before. You're not in the training room as long. No, this veteran team, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, they're going to come to play every single week.
Well, they are, as I said, unbreakable. That's my new term for the Philadelphia Eagles. And until they prove me otherwise, that's what we're going to call it. All right. I want to thank our sponsors, MyBookie, Sky Motor Cars, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, PHL Sports Nation, and our friends at HelloFresh. Thanks for watching Inside the Birds Postgame Live. For Adam Caplan and Clay Harbor, I'm Geoff Mosher. Catch you on the next one.